you so much, sir. Okay, thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, very nice to see you today. And this is Fan Siyuan from CNC, also known as China Nuclear Industry Corporation. And today, I'm really honored to be invited to this webinar. So wait a second. I would like to first with share the documents with you, and then I'll start with my speech. I'm not sure if you can clearly see my screen or not.
Yes, we can see.
Okay, thank you so much. So right now, as we all know, we are facing a common dilemma for humanity, that's climate change. To address this challenge to move towards a sustainable low-carbon future, I would like to share with you how China tries to achieve green
I'm
transition.
sorry, I cannot see if there are any slides or.
Sorry.
Did you share?
I think it's not moving yet. You have to
It's
go
not.
to your first slide.
Okay, I'll try again. I'm sorry.
No problem. No problem. No, we can't.
You cannot see anything?
There's only some 2 or 3 Chinese words are written, which we cannot understand.
Okay, I'm so sorry about that.
If you can send to me, I can share it. Send me on chat.
Okay, wait a second, okay? I'm really
Yes.
sorry for the delay.
No problem. No problem. If it is taking time, we can move to the next speaker. Then you can, meantime, you can fix and then we come back to you.
Okay, thank you. I think it will be better if the next speaker speaks.
Yes.
I think it will take some time.
Yes. Okay. So sorry, maybe you cannot see me right now because suddenly there is some electricity problem. So all the lights are off. So you have one technical problem, so I have another problem. But it will be sorted out soon. So we can move to our next speaker right now. Our next speaker is Dr. Yusuf. He has served at many key positions in his career across the world. First of all, he served his nation, Egypt. And second, he also have served IAEA at a different capacity. He was also inspector some important missions across the world from the IAEA, and he was also the head of monitoring section. So he has a diverse experience to deal with the nuclear energy and its implications. So today he will be talking more about nuclear energy potential in the Middle East. Sir, floor is yours.
No, okay. Okay, thank you for letting me talk about nuclear energy, which is my favorite subject. First, my name is Dr. Yusri Abu Shadi. I was working with IAEA for 25 years and became at the end the section head of the safeguard department. And I was very much involved with actually in design and calculations of all nuclear reactors in the world. I'm still very much involved in that. In fact, I managed to design one of the small reactors as a demonstration in Egypt. I was also professor in Alexandria University for some years. I would like really to talk my subject about the role of nuclear energy, particularly in the region of the Middle East and Africa. But before that, since we have a very interesting lecturer which started her presentation, I would like to highlight really the role of China, which in current days we have about 440 nuclear power plant, including 958 in China in operation, which makes China is a country number 2 after the United States in having a nuclear reactor. But China will be soon, maybe in 10 years or so, will have the 102 nuclear power plant and will be number 1. That's why we need to think carefully about China. China is coming and particularly helping developing country and maybe Africa and maybe Middle East in the near future. Let me back to the role of nuclear energy in the Middle East. As we can see really that it started basically, if I consider Pakistan and India are not part of the Middle East, but as you know very well, they started a long time ago and maybe from the 70s. Currently, India, Pakistan have quite important nuclear power plants, especially India, where they have their own maybe over 20 reactors of their own design. But back to the Middle East, which started by Iran and the Gulf area, we can see Iran was the first country having a nuclear power plant in Bushehr. It was started maybe in the 70s, but it started operation only in 2012. The first nuclear power plant of 1,000 megawatt, plus there are 2 now under construction by Rosatom. Then came United Arab Emirates actually by signing contract with South Korea, KEPCO, and they built and operated now 4 big power plant, each one with 1,400 megawatt. So they have something like 5,600 megawatt, which is a quite high contribution to their energy demand. Although, as you know, Emirates is one of the biggest country in petrol gas production. But that will add, of course, very much to the clean energy in the region. Then coming towards a little bit north part of the Middle East, which is Turkey. We consider Turkey is still part of the Middle East. They are building now actually 4 power reactors, each one with 1,200 on the Mediterranean Sea. And they have a plan for another 4. Their reactor are expected to be operated in just one, in maybe 2-3 years. Then came to Egypt, probably in the North Africa, will be the first country. There are now 4 reactors in Dab'a, near Dab'a city, are under construction. They are expected, the first one to operate within 3 years. They will contribute to 4,800 megawatt, something like over 10% of the total power in Egypt. But as you know, nuclear power plant are operating continuously with a very short period of refueling, and of course on a constant power, which one of its main advantages, which form the base load for all countries. So the energy generated from these 4 reactors are expected to approach 20% of Egypt demand. But Egypt also, after these 4, they have planned for additional 4 and others. In Africa, of course, as you know, Egypt is not the first country to have a nuclear power plant. We have another 2 reactors in South Africa, but they are somehow frozen since a very long time and they are quite old. But Africa is highly looking to nuclear energy. And Russia actually, Rosatom, managed to sign some contracts. One of them is quite serious, one in Nigeria, to build 2 reactors there of 1,200 megawatt, this VVER 1200. And of course, they are having negotiation with several countries, African countries as well. Maybe Algeria will join also soon, and maybe talk about Uganda and Ghana and others. So back to also the Arab countries, Saudi Arabia is highly looking for nuclear power. They are thinking more about the SMR, the small modular reactors, and they already did some contract for study. And of course, their first research reactor, that is a very small reactor from Argentina, may start in months. Jordan also is highly looking for nuclear power. A few years ago, they had a plan and a kind of primary agreement with Russia for 2 reactors, each one was 1,000 megawatt. However, that contract was postponed, and now Jordan is thinking about also SMR like Saudi Arabia. Of course, there was other country in the region that thought about the nuclear energy, but as you know, really the situation in the Middle East is quite serious, and there are wars and problems. So it's not sure really what will happen in the future. But definitively, nuclear energy is considered as one of the clean energy and even sustainable energy. And of course, as you know, really, this clean energy bank, many countries like European countries and probably even China need to get credit by implementing nuclear energy to get credit in the bank of clean energy in order to allow them to use other fossil sources for a certain period. That is why going for projects in the Middle East and Africa are highly welcomed by clean energy, because they are willing to build such type of reactor to get credit in this energy, considering nuclear energy is one of the sources of the clean energy. For the moment, I think on the whole world, the nuclear energy form about 25% of the total production of clean energy, including, of course, this to compete with solar and, of course, wind and other resources. So that is how it looks the future. The main target actually is how safe are these reactors and how economic are these reactors. Definitively, with respect to the economy, the capital costs are high. That's why this developing country needs some support from the designer. And that's what happened in El Daba in Egypt. They give a very huge loan, postponed to pay any part of the loan for many years. That make really competitive. In addition, of course, as you know, the nuclear fuel itself is maybe 3-4% of cost of fossil fuel. And that make really that the kilowatt hour production maybe not at the first few years, but later on will be much competitive, knowing that the nuclear power plant life can go beyond even 60 years, could be reach even 80 years, contrary to the fossil power plant. So these are the main things. What is remaining actually is how to guarantee the safety of this reactor, and that's how we called generation 3+. That's a new generation with a quite large number of security methods to protect the reactor, to avoid what's happening in Fukushima or other accident happen. So nuclear energy, in my view, is coming. Although really the West are decreasing now, and some countries even stopped the nuclear, but these countries already saturated by the nuclear. France was at one time maybe over 75% of its production from nuclear energy. So what's more than that they need? That's why there is a decrease in development of nuclear energy in the West, but that is a huge increase in the East and South. particularly China and India. So I am still believe and optimistic and believe nuclear energy will be among the most important energy sources or clean energy sources in the near future. Thank you.
Sorry, for one moment I have to change because there was it is a high temperature in Pakistan, but the electricity was there was a breakdown of electricity, so that's why I have to be put in the informal attire. So now we will have our next speaker. So our next speaker is Miss Fan. She will talk about nuclear energy, a vital catalyst for the green transition. So Miss Fan, the floor is yours. Now let me try to put your presentation. So can everybody see it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, I think
Yes.
I can see it.
Yeah,
I can see it.
yes, sir.
Yeah, me
Okay, now
too.
you can proceed, Miss
Okay.
Fan.
Okay, thank you so much. So today I'm really glad. Again, I'm really honored to be invited to this webinar. And as we all know, we are facing a common dilemma for humanity, that is climate change. So to address this challenge, move towards a sustainable and low carbon future, I would like to share with you how China tries to achieve green transition and China's approach to nuclear energy utilization, hoping to enhance your understanding of this clean energy resource. So first off, can you put on the third slide? Yes. Turn to the third slide. Yes. What is nuclear energy? We all know that nuclear energy is the energy released from the nucleus of the atom through nuclear reactions, such as fusion or fusion, and it has a wide application area. It can be mainly used for power generation. However, at the same time, it can also be used in areas such as seawater desalination, industrial heating, and the production of radioactive isotopes for medical use. Let's come to the next slide. Yes, thank you. And there are several advantages of the nuclear power. First of all, it can achieve zero operational emission. Nuclear power plants emit no greenhouse gases during the electricity generation. It doesn't produce anything like carbon dioxide or methane, neither produce something like nitrogen dioxide or something else. Their life cycle emissions are comparably to wind and significantly lower than solar or fossil fuels. Additionally, it has an unmatched energy density. The nuclear fuels has an extremely high energy density. Only a small amount of uranium fuel can produce a huge amount of energy. This makes nuclear power generation require relatively little fuel transportation and storage, while reducing land use and resources extraction and having less impact on the environment. Also, it is a kind of reliable baseload power. Nuclear plants operate continuously at high capacity factors, typically more than 90%, providing stable, predictable power independent of the weather or time of the day. This is essential for grid stability and as its intermittent renewable scale up. And last but not least, it is a proven technology. Nuclear has been generating large-scale clean electricity safely for over 6 decades, currently providing about 10% of the global electricity and over 25% of clean electricity in advanced economies. So can we turn to the next slide? So why do we need nuclear energy? Just as the speakers before me, they have already explained something, and I have also mentioned we are facing some serious situation about the climate change. And the reality is, according to IEA analysis, we are approaching a decisive moment for international efforts to tackle the climate crisis, which has been a great challenge of our time. We need to achieve net zero by 2050, and we need to decarbonize of electricity industry and transport. However, the scale is, global energy demand is rising, especially in developing countries. We need all viable clean solutions working together. And at the meantime, the gap still remains. Renewables like solars and winds are crucial and growing rapidly, but their intermittency creates challenges for grid stability that makes them less stable and reliable. Furthermore, these renewables require massive amount of energy storage of undispatchable backups. These solutions are currently limited in scale and cost at the grid level. So here's the trilemma. We need energy that is clean, which means low and or zero carbon, and it should be reliable. It should be available for 24/7, and it should be also affordable for all kinds of economies and for all kinds of human beings. So I think that comes to the conclusion. What we need, obviously, is the nuclear energy. We can turn to the next slide. And now, I think maybe I can share you some of the experiences from China. We can turn to the next slide. Yes. How do we address the climate challenges? Since we have already decided to take nuclear energy as a solution, so how do we start at the very first beginning? I'll take China as an practical example to explain the situation. Okay. First, and the most important thing is that we need national strategy and political commitment. We need to establish long-term development goals. And we need to develop a national nuclear energy policy. And furthermore, we need to also establish a National Nuclear Energy Commission as a cross-department coordination mechanism. Another thing that is important, we need to set up a nuclear safety regulatory system. We need legislation to help provide a legal basis for nuclear safety regulation. We need to establish an independent nuclear safety regulatory body. And we also need to fully adopt IAEA safety standards to enhance nuclear safety. And what else can we do? We can join International Convention on Nuclear Safety and collaborate with other international communities to enhance global nuclear safety. This is for all human beings. And for the most important thing, according to the industry development of a single country, that is to set up talent development program. We need to establish nuclear engineering and radiochemistry majors in higher educations to provide professional talents for the nuclear industry. We can establish a national nuclear energy training center, and we can develop talents through international cooperation as well. So how did China do specifically? Maybe we can turn to the next slide and I'll explain it to you. Thank you so much. Even if a country like China, we have already prepared so much, we have already the foundation of development of a nuclear industry, achieving net zero by 2050 still seems challenging. So here's China's national strategy. China's got a big plan called dual carbon goals. Basically, it means we're aiming to hit our highest point of carbon dioxide emissions. That is a carbon peak before 2030. Then the really ambitious part is we are going to achieve the carbon neutrality before 2060. Carbon neutrality means balancing out the carbon we put into the atmosphere with what we take out. So it's like net zero emission. It's a huge task, right? To make this happen, China knows we need clean energy big time, and one of the key players we're betting on is nuclear power. To boost nuclear power's contribution, China is planning to keep the momentum going. We intend to approve new nuclear power projects every single year. The steady stream of new projects is crucial for building up the capacity needed to replace fossil fuels and provide that clean, stable baseload electricity. So alongside pushing solar and wind, building more nuclear reactors is a core part of China's strategy to get greener and hit those carbon peak and neutrality deadlines. And now I'm going to introduce you about what kind of nuclear power plant and how many nuclear power plants we're planning to construction. Maybe on the next slide. Oh, thank you. For China's nuclear power right now, China have 58 nuclear power units in operation and 29 units under construction. Meanwhile, our company, CNNC, have 26 nuclear power units in operation and 12 units under construction. That is the number in China. We are accounting for nearly half of the total construction volume. It is for my company. And for the next page, please. Can we take? Oh yes, thank you so much. And right now for China, the most common constructioning model of the nuclear power plant, it's called HPR 1000. It is also known as the Hualong number 1. It is independently developed by CNC and CDN based on 30 years experience of China nuclear power industry. It powers up to 4 million homes with electricity every single year. A single unit can replace whopping 3.5 million tons of standard coal burning annually, slashes carbon dioxide emission by over 8.6 million tons per year, and that's like planting more than 70 million trees. 70 million trees. And as you all know, we are taking the we have construction the K2 K3 project in Karachi, and those power units are also HPR 1000, and each single unit brings in over 10,000 direct jobs and supports another more than 40,000 indirect jobs. It's a big boost for local communities. Excuse me, I think, yes, thank you. I think we can go to the next slide. And for the construction and operation of the nuclear power units, the most thing we care about is safety. Now I'll start to introduce the thing that we all care about. That is, in China, we promise to follow safety design principles, and we promise to build and operate our own power units on the highest safety levels. And safety is absolutely the top priority. Our design anchors on defense in depth principles. That is, with significantly enhanced redundancy, diversity, and independence of all safety critical structures, systems, and components. Innovatively, HPR 1000 integrates both active and passive safety measures. This dual approach delivers comprehensive accident prevention and mitigation capabilities. And on the next slide, you can show that how we provide multiple backup layers. No. Back to the last page, please. Yes, this one. On this page, you can see how we provide like something like active and passive protection and double shield containment. Our design can reduce dependency on single safety system and it ensures reliability through engineered diversity. Together, these features make HPR 1000 one of the world's most secure reactor designs. And then we can come to the next slide. These are exactly the, can we come to the next slide? Yes. Here, these are the exact advantages of products made in China. The complete nuclear industrial chain. The next slide, please. Yes, thank you so much. We have the complete nuclear industrial chain. We have acquired full mastery of the entire nuclear industrial chain from the front end to the back end, covering natural uranium exploration, mining, conversion, and enrichment. And we can provide nuclear fuel fabrication, nuclear power plant design, construction, operation, radioactive waste disposal, and spent fuel processing, and so many other kinds of technologies. And at the same time, we also have strong equipment supply chain. That is on the next slide. Yes, 16. Yeah, thank you. We have mature and strong equipment supply chain of China supporting plant construction and stable operation. All key equipment of our HPR 1000 can be domestically manufactured by our own. And there's another big concern about the nuclear power plant, that is cost. We can come to the next slide. As we all know, the construction period of nuclear power reactor is long, generally taking 4 to 5 years, and its construction cost ranges from tens of billions to hundreds of billions of US dollars. That would be a heavy economy burden for most developing countries. However, we are not unable to improve the situation. Compared to other clean energy construction costs, while the upfront capital of nuclear power plant is high, its long lifespan and low operational fuel costs contributes to competitive long-term economies, especially with valuing grid reliability and zero carbon. From this chart, we can very intuitively see the construction cycle of all nuclear power plants built by CNC overseas. From the first dose of concrete to the commercial operation date, there has been significant growth in installed capacity. However, the construction period has been miraculously shortened. It is worth noting that all of the 6 units in Pakistan that we built were completed within budget, ahead of schedule, and operated by owners safely and stably. In the past, due to regulatory changes, lack of project continuity, and supply chain issues, projects in the West have faced significant delays and cost overruns that keeps construction costs often rather high. And now China have performed better in cost controls, provide examples for other countries. The cost of nuclear energy projects can be effectively controlled through these steps: standardized design, modular construction, and learning effects, and streamline regulatory processes. We have performed better in cost control, providing examples for other countries. And for the next slide, yes, for 19, yes, slide number 19. Yes, this one. And in CNC, the nuclear energy has a versatile application. I'm now showing you the mature application of 2 nuclear power reactors in other industrial fields that has been built in China. The first one on the left side, this is a picture of nuclear energy industrial heating project in Qinzhou nuclear power plant. This is China's first nuclear energy industrial heating demonstration platform, which provides a China nuclear solution for clean energy substitution in industrial parks. The project commenced construction on July 15, 2024, and completed the main network on November 15, and commenced trial operation in November 21, completing construction in just 4 months. This project will provide energy alternatives for multiple industry heat users. Upon completion, the project will provide 24-hour heat supply and generate approximately over 288,000 gigawatts of industrial heat annually, saving approximately more than 10,000 tons of standard coal and reducing carbon dioxide emission by approximately 24,000 tons. This is of the great significance, reducing carbon dioxide emission by approximately. This is of great significance to local ecological protection and energy conservation and consumption reduction. And on the right side, we have nuclear energy providing a stable supply of heat or electricity for seawater desalination to solve the problem of water shortage. This is a nuclear power plant located in Haiyang City, Shandong Province. Not only provides electricity and heat for the city, but also engages in seawater desalination. This technology extracts steam and waste heat from the Haiyang nuclear power plant unit to drive a hydrothermal cold generation device, converting seawater directly into fresh water at 95 degrees Celsius, meeting drinking water standards. Okay, we can turn to the next slide. Thank you so much. And we also have another nuclear power plant called SMR. That's a kind of small reactors. In order to adapt different needs and tackle the energy crisis, we offer a solution, the SMR Plus integrated energy system. By integrating these diverse energy sources, we can create a robust and resilient energy system. And we can come to the next slide. That is synergy, why we need all kinds of solutions of the clean energy to help achieving the net zero goal. That is synergy. We are not competitioning with each other, but we're just trying to cooperate with all kinds of new clean energies. Nuclear power and renewable energy have complementary advantages. Nuclear power provides the firm, clean backbone and that enables higher potential of reliable renewables. They are partners, not competitors. And nuclear power can provide system stability and provides essential grid services that renewables alone struggle to deliver cost effectively at scale. These services are difficult to provide on a large scale and in a cost-effective manner using renewable energy alone. The synergy between nuclear energy and renewable energy can improve the stability and reliability of the entire energy system. And beyond electricity, just as what I have already introduced, the combination of nuclear energy and renewable energy can also optimize the integrated energy system. For example, high temperature reactors can be used for industrial heat supplying, hydrogen production, etc., completing the power supply of renewable energy and improving energy utilization efficiently. And the most important one is energy security. That the combination diversifies the clean energy mix, reducing dependence on violent fossil fuels, markets, and geographically concentrated critical minerals needed for some renewable storage. And for the next slide, when it came to the SMR plus integrated energy system, nuclear energy, particularly with SMRs, offers a stable and continuous power supply. It can effectively compensate for the instability of solar power, wind power, and hydropower. It can the benefits of our SMR plus system are substantial. It contributes to a cleaner environment with zero carbon emissions, ensure a reliability energy supply with system stability, and makes efficient use of land resources. By maximizing resource sharing, reducing the overall cost of energy through lower levelized cost of energy, and maintaining low financial pressure, our solution is both economical and sustainable. And let me draw the conclusion. Yes, for the next page. In conclusion, the urgency and scale of the climate crisis demands that we develop every effective clean energy tool at our disposal. And nuclear energy, with its proven ability to generate vast amount of zero carbon, reliable baseload electricity, is not just an option. It is a critical enabler of a successful and just green transition. By embracing innovation in next generation nuclear, integrating its strategy with renewables and storage, and fostering supportive policies and public understandings, we can unlock its immense potential to power a sustainable, secure, and prosperous low-carbon future. We cannot afford to leave this powerful tool on the sidelines. And that's all for my speech. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, Ms. Fan, for your wonderful speech. And I think the data you have shared with us is excellent data and good to know that. So China has almost built the 4,000 megawatt of electricity, nuclear energy in Pakistan, electricity in the Pakistan. So I personally have some experience because one of my family member is working with atomic energy. So how the China and Pakistan cooperation is going on. So right now the Chashma 5, C5, I think is a big project. So where Pakistan capacity will be further enhanced. And there is a plan in Pakistan till 2050. Pakistan will have the 40,000 megawatt from the nuclear energy. I think if it happen, that will be a huge because our electricity will goes down because we have to import this fossil fuel. Right now, 63% of our mega energy mix is dependent on the fossil fuels. So that is not sustainable, especially in the volatile markets and other things. Another important thing of a Pakistan nuclear energy is that Pakistan and China, they are working not very closely, they are working hand in hand. You have seen the all 4,000 megawatt which has been generated, that is the collaboration between Pakistan and China. And that shows that how we are, what does mean of the ironclad brotherhood. So we every field we are working together. So with this, I will like to move to our next speaker, Dr. Jason Rose. He is very well-known expert on the subject. He is from, I think, from Columbia University, and right now he is also the science advisor to the Scheller Institute and La Roche Foundation. A few days back, he delivered a keynote speech in Berlin. So I hope we will listen more from him and his experience. Dr. Jason Rose, floor is yours, sir.
Thank you very much. And thank you for the invitation to join this panel. I've learned quite a bit from Dr. Yusri Abushaji and Fan Siuen, and I'm happy to participate as well. I'd like to address energy from the standpoint of the role it plays more broadly in shaping the synthetic environment that human beings relate to. The network of energy, of water, of transportation, of flood control, of irrigation, education, culture, all of this serves as a network, an environment in which individual economic activity occurs. This man-made landscape determines really our potential productivity. In the United States, the Tennessee Valley Authority. In China, the Three Gorges Dam. These projects have prevented floods, produced power, and improved transportation. The Suez Canal, in its recent expansion, has effectively reshaped global geography from the standpoint of transportation. It's impossible to address the poverty around the world or to prevent the return of poverty without adequate energy, especially in the highest form of energy, electrical energy. We clearly do need new sources of power. In developed countries today, wood is very rarely used as a fuel. It's used for construction or for furniture. Its other properties are prized. In the near future, or perhaps already in the present, the idea of burning hydrocarbons, especially petrochemicals, will seem oddly wasteful because these resources, which are not unlimited, serve as a chemical feedstock for producing materials and so many other uses besides energy. This means that even in oil-rich countries, there is a real incentive to move towards nuclear power because increasingly these petrochemicals will have their greatest use in non-energy contexts. So I'd like to show a couple of slides now to give a sense of the role of energy in fostering economic development. Hope you can all see this.
Yes, we can see it.
Great. So this is a chart of energy use per capita, measured in kilowatt hours per year. I just put two countries on this chart for simplicity. The US is in blue and China is in red. So on a per capita energy basis, the US is really peaked in around 1972 or so, and since then has been stable or even declining on a per capita basis. Let's take a look not just at energy in general, but specifically at electrical energy, because there's a lot you can do with electricity that you can't do directly with heat. You can't take an X-ray with a big fire. You can use electricity to take an X-ray. So same as the last chart, now we're looking at electricity use per capita in China and the United States. To put these together, we can look at electricity as a percentage of energy use. And here you can see in the US, it's gone up slightly, the relative share of electricity compared to other forms of energy use, partly because of a shutdown of big industry. But in China, you see the growth is absolutely phenomenal, from 5% when the data began to over 20% now. This indicates a change not only in the amount of energy, but of its form. So the most promising new energy source to power the next generation of human advancement of electricity production is absolutely nuclear power. Now, looking farthest ahead, we can think about nuclear fusion, the process that powers the sun. This is the most advanced form of power that humans are currently pursuing. Nuclear fusion holds the potential to dramatically transform our relationship to water through desalination on an even broader scale than nuclear fission. It'll change our relationship to production, transportation, materials processing. Nuclear fusion, controlled nuclear fusion, is still some years in the future. But we have decades of experience with nuclear fission. The previous speakers have expressed the very low relative cost of fuel in a nuclear reactor compared to a thermal plant. Let me put this in the context of by comparing two different things that you could do with uranium. So pure uranium, it is combustible. It can combine with oxygen, form uranium oxides, and release heat if it does so. It could be burned like natural gas. If instead you use that uranium in a fission sense and liberate the nuclear energy it contains, then per amount of uranium, the amount of energy is 1 million times higher when it's used as a nuclear fuel than if it were used as a chemical fuel, 1 million times. So this is why the amount of fuel is so incredibly insignificant and the transportation and mining costs so low compared to, say, coal, which requires an enormously larger volume. The other thing I'd want to say about nuclear power's role is in the context of an energy system. So when planning out a national energy grid or a regional power supply, you have to consider not only the individual point sources of electricity, but of course the reliability of the system as a whole, of the grid, of the entirety. And for this reason, the relative value of so-called intermittent or non-dispatchable power sources, ones where you can't control when you get the power, like solar or wind, to the extent that these make up a greater and greater share of the energy grid, the relative value of adding each amount of this decreases. Why? Because of the increased need for backup supplies to counter the changes of weather. From an economic standpoint, the high capacity factor of nuclear power, often exceeding 90%, as Fan Siyuan pointed out in one of her slides, this has to be taken into account when examining the cost per installed energy capacity. It's possible that a financing agency or a donor or an NGO might look simply at cost per installed megawatt. And they might say, well, here's nuclear, here's solar, look how much less expensive solar is. But of course, the real comparison has to take into account the capacity factor and the additional capital costs that go along with intermittent power sources in the form of the dispatchable power, often today natural gas, that has to go along with it if you intend to have a reliable energy system. The other great benefit of nuclear is that it's not just nuclear reactors in isolation, it's the creation of a nuclear economy or of an isotope economy. The necessary upgrades in education, skills, engineering talent required to construct, maintain, and operate a nuclear power reactor means that the choice of a nation to pursue a nuclear policy orientation also serves as a driver for improving that nation's most ultimate resource, the capabilities of its human beings. In addition to this cultural or human factor that comes with pursuing a nuclear policy, the nuclear economy is about more than just power. Take, for example, the application of isotope separation, nuclide separation, not only for producing nuclear fuel, but for other applications. For example, isotopically pure silicon-28 has great potential applications and already existing applications in quantum computing, where the silicon-29 is a disruptive force. Nuclear medicine brings us the benefits of tests, treatment. Nuclear tagged biological organic molecules allow us to do new kinds of research, expanding our ability to know. So nuclear brings with it a whole world that goes beyond simply power per se. I'd like to apply this to one region of the world, Southwest Asia, and then offer a couple of concluding remarks. Let me take a reference now to get this chart up here. Excuse me. Okay, hope we see this. This is Lyndon LaRouche at the Zayed Center in the United Arab Emirates in 2002. LaRouche was an American economist and one of the founders of the Schiller Institute that I'm associated with today. He said at this conference, "The Middle East today is what has been in principle for thousands of years, even long before the building of the Great Pyramids of Egypt. It is and remains one of the great natural crossroads in the development of civilization. By concentrating resources of transportation, water, and power within development corridors, the most efficient use of those resources can be managed. The most economical use of the total available land area is achieved by concentrating development in such corridors. Under proper policies," he said, "the net cost of such development corridors is less than zero. As goods flow, wealth can be generated." In the 1970s, LaRouche proposed an oasis plan for Southwest Asia, which envisioned a sovereign state of Palestine as laid out in the United Nations under international law, a sovereign state of Palestine in the context of regional economic development led by water development. So a common enemy in this region is the desert, is the lack of precipitation, the shortage of water. This can be a common enemy instead of each other, or should be. So this foresees the connection between the Mediterranean and the Dead Sea, not of a canal, not the Ben Gurion Canal, not bypassing the Suez Canal, but a supply of water. Along the way, you could desalinate, you can refill the Dead Sea and create hydropower because there's a huge elevation drop at that point. Also coming up from the Red Sea, perhaps on the Jordan side of the border, another water conveyance system that's able to desalinate along the way, could provide water up as far as to Amman, Jordan. And of course, as part of all of this, a transportation network that makes into one political entity, the West Bank and Gaza, and puts the entire region as it should be and historically has the potential to be as the main crossroads of the entire world. I mean, this is the location where Europe, where Asia, where Africa come together. Its potential should be unlimited. And nuclear power in this particular application would allow for a much greater supply of water with much less use of land and resources compared to other technologies. So in conclusion, with the development of a more advanced synthetic, man-made infrastructural environment for us to operate in at a higher platform of potential, humanity will be less subject to the vagaries of nature, will be less subject to the extremes of weather, and will be better equipped to improve the biosphere. Nuclear power plays a leading and absolutely a central role in that development. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Jason Ross, for your comments. Now I start to think we must have a session on a OSIS plant plan of La Roche. So we can discuss because I heard a lot about that plan from Hassan. He is a great advocate, and off and on he just shared with us this plan. And I think we must have some session on that where we can talk in detail what is the OSIS plan. So let's move to our last speaker. Then after the last speaker, we will move to our chief guest for the session. So thank you all the speakers and chief guests for for turning on your camera because I'm taking a group photo of all the speakers and the chief guest. Please sit in the proper pose. Dr. Yusri, your chair is very nice, but for this picture you have to sit in the pose. Sorry. Smile. Thank you. Now you can decide for yourself if you want to keep on or off. So, Mr. Hassan Askari, Dr. Hassan Askari, for me, he is a brother because we are working together for many years now, and we are off and off. I use CK Sports to get the people from the Europe and from Africa. So, because when I was planning this webinar, so I first spoke with him. So let's try to do something. So then he suggested me very beautiful names and beautiful people, Dr. Yusri and Dr. Yassin. So today we have them. So floor is yours, brother.
Thank you, Brother Shakil. I'm honored to speak with you in this wonderful panel. I thank Dr. Yusri, Ms. Fan, and my friend Jason for the wonderful presentations. They didn't leave much for me to speak about, except for a few conceptual matters, which I would like to talk about concerning the idea of green transition and sustainable development. In 2022, I wrote a review of two papers from the Chinese government. One on the which outlines the strategy for the green transition for China for like 2-3 decades until 2060, and then another paper which is the plan of action. I also used a number of speeches by President Xi Jinping to illustrate the intention and the method of thinking of the Chinese on how they deal with these matters. China is important both because it's a developing nation and it has achieved miraculous development in very short time, but it also has a philosophy of economic thinking and economic and social development, which is much needed in the world, even in the Western world, not only the developing nations. My argument in that paper, I will share the link for you, is that in the West, we have had a culture of pessimism for decades now. That's why we have most of the nuclear power programs are shut down, like in Germany. In Sweden, it was shut down. Now the government is trying to scramble and go back to it. But most of our engineers who built the Swedish nuclear program are either dead or too old now to rebuild the nuclear program. So even if Sweden wants to build nuclear power, we don't have the engineers and the know-how how to do it. We lost it. We have 40% of our energy in Sweden from nuclear power, but we don't have enough nuclear engineers and scientists because it was forbidden in Sweden to study nuclear power for about 20 years. That was a law. Anyway, the difference between the Western way of dealing with the issue of like green transition or climate change is to deal with it negatively, which means we stop using fossil fuels. We stop industrial development. We stop eating meat. We stop. So we have to solve things negatively by not doing things. In China, they solve problems positively. And that's why these two papers are so important, because they say, first of all, I will read for you a couple of quotes. So so you get the point actually much better than if I explain it. One is from a speech by President Xi Jinping, a keynote speech he gave in November 2021 before these papers were published at the APEC CEO Summit. And he said, quote, "In the Asia Pacific, over 100 million people still live in abject poverty. Some economies are still plagued by inadequate infrastructure development, education, and healthcare. and they are weak in food security and energy supply, end of quote. She stressed that, quote, without development, it will be impossible to pool the economic strength necessary for achieving green transition. Neglecting people's livelihood means loss of social support for pursuing green transition. And then, of course, he discusses this idea, the notion of sustainable development with Jason and I, as colleagues at the Shalom. We wrote many years ago that we need to redefine even the term sustainable development to match it with the Chinese concept, not the Western concept of sustainable development. I'm not going to go through that, but in these papers, the Chinese government outlined this nuclear power as a key component of the green transition. The Chinese green transition includes modernizing the whole industrial system and increasing industrial development and doing the green transition without sacrificing the livelihood of the population. So you don't sacrifice economic development and social progress for the sake of the climate issue. And the paper by the Chinese government study says, quote, we will set a reasonable layout and timetable for the construction of nuclear power stations and maintain a steady pace of construction, end of quote. It emphasized, quote, develop nuclear power in an orderly manner under the premise of ensuring safety and maintaining a steady pace of construction. And then they outline a very, incredible ambition. The paper also says that, until 2030, 35, says China will push forward demonstration projects for advanced reactor types, including high temperature gas-cooled reactors, fast reactors, breeder reactors, small modular reactors, and offshore floating reactors, and conduct demonstrations on the comprehensive utilization of nuclear energy, end of quote. So this is in basically the level of ambition, but also the principles behind it is that economic development is the way, and scientific, technological, and industrial development is the way to a better climate, better environment. This is what we experience here in Sweden. When Sweden was a poor country, the environment was very, very poor quality. With industrialization, the air quality improved in Sweden because we use new, better, more efficient sources of energy like hydropower and nuclear power instead of using dung and wood and coal. So anyway, I would like to share also. I'm not gonna. Okay, I'm able to see. Sorry.
Yes, we can see your slide.
Sorry, I have to share the PowerPoint, not the. Okay, so this is the title of the article I mentioned. Putting people's development first is the only effective climate strategy. China's green transition as an example. I will share the link with you later. Of course, I'm not going to go through the Chinese. The Chinese, when they say something, they do it. So the implementation of these policies continues, and whatever the Chinese government puts out as a white paper, you make sure it happens. So China has developed its own technology, its own reactor, the Hualong nuclear reactor. Dr. Yusri mentioned the fact that China is number 2 now in the world, but in 2035, it will become number 1 in the world with more than 150 power plants. But China also managed a number of breakthroughs. For example, the 4th generation nuclear power plant, which is gas-cooled pebble bed reactors, which was actually Germany threw it away many decades ago. They stopped developing it, but China picked that up and developed, and now has the first commercial small modular high temperature gas-cooled reactor. These have passive. Now, there's a new trend in the world, but many nations want to build small modular reactors and small floating modular reactors. Russia is the world leader in this sense. China is behind Russia, but both of them are more than a decade ahead of the United States and Western Europe. Even the UK Prime Minister Starmer and President Trump were talking in their press conference 2 days ago about building these things. So there's a scramble globally for a small modular reactor construction, but then the lead is for Russia actually in this area, because for many, many years they have been developing and building these small reactors. Also, they have applied that to building the icebreaker fleet in the Northern Sea, in the Arctic Circle, where now the Belt and Road and the ice Silk Road can have free passage around the year for cargo ships from Asia to Europe and vice versa. So the Russians are actually leading into this, and not only building for themselves, but Russia's cooperation level with other nations is amazing. Despite all the sanctions and problems, that Russia is the world #1 in cooperation and making agreements with other nations in the field of civilian nuclear technology. And Dr. Yusri mentioned the fact that most of the reactors in the region are built. This is an older image of the map of the nations. Russia and China have nuclear cooperation agreements together. Dr. Yusri mentioned the Aldaba power plant, which will look like this one in the picture, which is a Russian Rosatom power plant built on the coast of Egypt. If we look at the EU cooperation in nuclear technology with the rest of the world, this is the map. Only South Africa has a nuclear cooperation agreement, a serious one, with the EU countries. The EU countries have agreements with other African nations on lecturing them on how dangerous nuclear technology is. This is the only kind of cooperation the EU has with the African nations, that to tell the Africans nuclear power is dangerous. This is the role the EU is playing in this field. The United States has started to have communication with countries in Africa like Ghana on the question of building small modular reactors, because the United States does not want to lose that market. This is the South African pebble bed, fourth generation reactor, which is, I think, is abandoned now. It's a big tragedy, but this is South Africa, as Dr. Yusri said, one of the few countries in Africa, or the only country at the moment, which has a nuclear power plant. The United Arab Emirates in 2024 completed the building of 4 reactors in the Baraka power plant built by the South Korean KEPCO plant, and with 1,400 megawatts each. And this constitutes 25% of the United Arab Emirates' energy consumption. And the United Arab Emirates, and people have to know, thanks to cooperation with China and the Belt and Road, is becoming, together with Saudi Arabia, becoming industrialized nations, not simply real estate and financial centers, but also industrial. And therefore, they need new types of energy. And also, this is part of the strategy, as my friend Jason Ross mentioned, the American economist Lyndon LaRouche in his speech 2002 in the United Arab Emirates. I remember that because I translated the speech of Mr. LaRouche myself. So I'm a member of the Schiller Institute, and I played a role in organizing that conference myself. But he advised the Gulf countries, not only the United Arab Emirates, to build nuclear power for water desalination, but also to use the oil and gas resources for industrial purposes, as Jason mentioned that. So in 2007, 5 years after that, the United Arab Emirates started the nuclear program, civilian nuclear program. In 2009, they started building this complex of reactors, and it became operational in 2024. So this area, as Mr. LaRouche calls it, the crossroads of the continents, and it's very crucial for the Belt and Road Initiative and for trade, but also communication and logistics between Asia, Europe, and Africa. And these are the maps we designed for the development corridors, which include infrastructure, power, water, electricity and so on to bring development, not simply to ship goods from China to Europe. Many people have the false idea that this new Silk Road is about shipping goods from China to the market in Europe. That's not true. President Xi Jinping talks, like Mr. LaRouche, about the development corridors, that you build infrastructure to develop the regions between Europe and Asia, not simply. So, but part of that is, of course, the question of developing the water resources. As Jason explained, the water is the most valuable commodity there, more valuable than oil and gas in this region. And using nuclear power for desalination, this is also the image of the Oasis plan my friend Jason mentioned. But there's a fascinating part of, for example, of the Egyptian, because we have a renaissance of nuclear power in Africa and in West Asia. But in Egypt, what is fascinating is that besides building the power plant, which is Russian designed, Russian built, but they have educated, of course, Egyptian engineers, but they have built in the same city a high school for nuclear technology, where young kids are educated on how to run a nuclear power and maintain a nuclear power plant. It produces 300 technicians each year. And this will be a huge, valuable source, human source, not only for Egypt, for the rest of Africa. And this is a very, very fascinating and ambitious program where young school children, like these are the high school level, when they complete their school, they can continue to go to university, but they already, when they finish the school, they can run and maintain a major nuclear power plant. So this is a very, very important aspect of the development of Egypt, but also of Africa. So there are certain conceptual issues we have to deal with to be able to reach this idea that economic development is the key to dealing with environmental issues, scientific technological development, and nuclear power is a key component of this. And I think I stop here, and we allow some time for discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hassan, for your quick but very comprehensive comments. Now I would like to request
our colleagues saved me the time.
No, every colleague did a wonderful job. I think you have touched a different side of the issue. If I talk about Dr. Yusri, so he was focused about he is a practitioner because he was with the IAEA, and he know the story from the both sides. So he was telling us that story. Then Miss Fan, she is a practitioner. They are in ground. They are implementing different projects, so they know the experience. And Dr. Jasser and you, both are the experts. Now we will move to our chief guest for today's session, Ms. Sarmina Khurshid Alam. She is a coordinator, Prime Minister Coordinator for Climate Change in Pakistan. She also led climate change negotiation delegation from Pakistan on the COP28 in Azerbaijan. So she can brief us more about green transition and what is happening in Pakistan. I think the green transition and the nuclear role we can further explore. So Madam Ramina, she has very close working experience with Chinese government because she is a chairperson of China-Pakistan Friendship Group in the Parliament of Pakistan, and she has also established Global Development Initiative platform at the Parliament of the Pakistan. So that is the first platform in any parliament of the world on the GDI. So, Ms. Sarmina.
Thank you very much. Once again, a very good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whatever the times, in all the wherever my dear speakers are there. And I really wanted to wanted to pay my regards and thanks to Mr. Shakil Ahmed Rame for always taking a great lead on a very different and, of course, very important and pertinent issues and challenges which we all need to work on it. And my special regards to, of course, Ms. Fan, it is really highly, learned experience, and it was a great learning by listening to you and the way you have present your presentation. And of course, Mr. Jason, Mr. Hussain, and Mr. Yusre, and of course, all the other viewers or listeners who has been joined us on this webinar. Now, getting back to this, as I think this discussion which we had heard specifically from all our very learned people, those all the speakers, and I think it's a great. In fact, I was just taking the notes of everyone. So for me, I was, of course, I felt moreover a student, but I think it's a great learning over there. But being a policymaker and from a person from the public perspective, because we, the parliamentarians, I always say that we are the people, for the people, by the people, and because of the people. But learning from all of you, I think it's a great way forward. And I always believe, as Mr. Shakil Rami has mentioned about the COP29 in the Azerbaijan, as I was leading that forefront of from the Pakistan side, in our negotiations and in everywhere, we tried to raise this voice again and again that we should talk about the more of the regional solutions. And after hearing all the discussion today from all these, all of you, I think it's the more my belief and my faith become more strong that yes, we have to work on the regional solutions and to learn from each other's best practices. As we discussed about the China, and as Mr. Shakil Rame has mentioned about the GDI, and right now, as my one of our dear speaker was putting a light on the Sustainable Development Goals, I think it's very much important that how not only we can go for the strategy, we can learn from the GDI solutions, how the Chinese, they have come up for the solution. And yes, it's very much true. When you want to do, China has proved that. And I really second, as one of our speakers said, that very soon they're going to become on the number one. And yes, very truly and very proudly, I believe that, yes, it is going to be, because the way they are working, the way they are doing the things, it's not about the power. It is moreover about how to make everyone, more powerful, more towards the life, the needs of the life, and how make it more convenient for others. And if we talk about how to make the region peaceful and economical growth, yes, if we talk about the Silk Belt Route, initiative, if we talk about the CPAC, and if we talk about the regional corporations, regional solutions, regional, way forward. It was really great to know about Africa region as well, as I'm working on the regional solutions. So yes, it's something which is very close to my heart as well. But now coming, of course, on as Mr. Shakil has also put a little light on from the Pakistan side. So when we talk about the nuclear energy as in Pakistan, of course, it's as a key enabler for the green transition, because as we all know that Pakistan is one of the vulnerable country, most vulnerable countries among Pakistan is. And now in this year that we have seen how the climate change is affecting all of us, but in 2022 the way Pakistan been get affected, that is one of its own sad and very unfortunate part. But now when we talk about the nuclear energy, of course, we all know that, who knows better than you all, that it's low carbon, high efficiency energy source that can significantly help decarbonize Pakistan's power sector. So in that way, how we can work, we are facing, definitely, as we are facing different challenges, but as we face rising energy demands alongside the climate crisis, nuclear power offers a sustainable and more scalable solutions as well. So Pakistan nuclear energy is, of course, a milestone. Pakistan peaceful nuclear energy program is more than 50 years old. Of course, I'm sure everybody know that. So with the first plant commissionized in 1972. So I think in that way, the way we are working and that inauguration of K2 and K3 that, in the recent years has added over 2,200 megawatt of clean energy to the national grid. So all our nuclear energy developments are IAEA complained and under strict safety and in those all protocols. So benefits when we talk about and strategic relevance, nuclear energy helps us reduce. Of course, we all know that the GH emissions and meet our national determined contribution NDCs and under the Paris Agreement. And as one of our speakers, they have mentioned about the children as well, that how they're engaging the children of the schools as well. So I really wanted to bring in your knowledge that in Pakistan as well, we are trying to, when it comes to the NDCs, that we have tried to engage more over the youngsters and how the school people as well. Because of course, when we talk about the youth, usually people say that youth is our future, but I strongly believe that youth is present and our future is with our children. So it is very much important that how we can engage them, how we can bring them, make them more knowledgeable in that how we can achieve more milestones and how we can work. So it then, as I was telling you that NDCs under the Paris Agreement, it mitigates us the impact of the climate-induced water scarcity as it requires less water per megawatt than many the thermal power sources. So it supports us industrial growth and energy reliability to critical for economic competitiveness. So with this stable cost over the time, nuclear energy also help the economy from the vulnerability global fossil fuel market and in that way as well. Sorry. So in that way, where we all are talking about the transition the pathways, what needs to be like, I strongly in few things which we believe, and I wanted to bring again and again in front of the globally when we do talk about or we do have discussions over. So there are a few things on which I strongly believe that we could work, that to strengthen the integrations of nuclear into the national climate and energy planning frameworks, to develop public and private partnerships and explore international financing mechanism, including the green climate fund and climate friendly energy transition instruments, because it is very much important. Because on these forums we came across to know that it's not the matter of the funding is very much available there, but access towards those funding is a very critical and a crucial issue as well. So how we can build a technical human resources capacity, R&Ds institutions, of course, and public awareness around the peaceful uses of the nuclear energy, how we can, as we have seen a greatest example of China, that how they are taking the advantages and how they're working and to create more benefits towards the humanity, to the people. So in that, I believe that invest into the new reactor technologies such as small modular reactors, SMR, for the rural and off-grid applications. So establish, of course, a clear policy. And when we talk about the policy roadmap that links nuclear power of Pakistan Energy Transition Plan 2030 and beyond. So I strongly believe that it's very much important specifically to bring these things into the policy and how we can bring, like, by not only one from one side, we need to, as I've already mentioned, that we need to focus more on the regional solution, that how we can support each other, what sort of because most of the time it happens that maybe few expertise which you have that I'm not having, and how we can engage that, how we can bring everyone into the loop, and I think that is very much important, and that what I was like, that global cooperation and support. So Pakistan seeks cooperation, of course, with IAEA, China, Russia, and other friendly countries in peaceful nuclear development. So as a climate vulnerable but energy aspiration country, Pakistan, of course, we do support under the climate justice frameworks to access nuclear technologies. And we always urge the global institutions and UNFCCC process to recognize nuclear energy as a clean energy source in climate finance way. So in conclusion, I just believe, my emphasis will is going to be that the green transition must be inclusive of all clean energy technologies, and nuclear energy must not be sidelined, because Pakistan is committed to just and balanced energy transition, and nuclear energy is essential to our future energy resilience and climate ambition. And moreover, I think by taking the advantage, I would like to request Mr. Shakil Rame that it could be great that from this forum, from this dialogue, or from this seminar, if you can come up with a sort of a consortium in which we can all, the series should be on, because this is something where a lot, if I say that as being a policymaker, maybe I know everything. So it couldn't be possible, because of course we all need to know, because every second day things are getting more over change, more over new technologies, new things are coming. So that things can be a great help to us towards the policy, towards drafting, towards managing, towards designing the thing. So I think it's very much important that how we can work and how we can work together. So by working together and taking a great examples and great practices, learning from each other, like if we talk about China, of course, that is something which is truly amazing. Every day, the way they are working, the way they are promoting, the way the peaceful growth, not only in China, they're looking forward the peace into the region, into the globe as well. So I think that is a great way forward, and I strongly recommend and request that we should come up with more over a cooperative consortium in which not only we can learn, we can come up with the solutions, because I always believe and I always say that in the end that it's not I, it's not you, it's us. So when we become us, or when we become we, I think together we can change so many things, and maybe we can create the wonders, not for us, for the future generations to come. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to learn and to share.
Thank you, Ms. Ramina Khurshid Alam, for your comments and encouragement, especially for your encouragement to go for more deeper engagements. Definitely, we will keep on, and I will bother you again and again, and we come up with some suggestions. And especially, I think Ms. Fan can also help us to draw something very positive for the Pakistan for the future, more roadmap. Although, so both countries are working very closely, but this, I think, in the green transition, how the nuclear energy can lead in Pakistan, especially. So Ms. Fan can also help us in this because they are working on the ground. So now, turn on the camera, students. I will take a picture. Today, we specially engaged young people. You have seen, so there are so many people on still in the late night in Pakistan, late night in other countries, but still we manage to bring so many because it's not about, as Madam Ramina was talking about, is the current generation, but it's a future generation for whom it's matter a lot. So, Madam Ramina, you can leave. I know you have to go to a family to attend some very important thing, but thank you so much. You
Oh,
are
my
here
pleasure.
for the whole session, and I am really grateful because you have to wait and your family, there was some very urgent thing in your family. Thank you, ma'am. You can
My
leave.
pleasure. My pleasure. Stay blessed. God
Bye-bye.
bless you.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, other people, if you have any question, we have 10 minutes for the question answer. Otherwise, we can discuss among ourselves. I can forward the questions to Mr. Hassan and other people because they are in contact with us. You can come up with the questions. I will forward them. We will get the answer. But maybe we have to conclude now because it's quite late in the context of China because it would be around about 12 p.m. more than 12 p.m. Well, 12 midnight. Midnight. No, it's a midnight. And then in Indonesia, it would also be midnight. So maybe we have to thank you, our speakers. But before concluding, I just want to mention one or two things. Pakistan's nuclear program, Pakistan faced a lot of difficulties. Pakistan faced sanctions. Pakistan faced all type of the threats from the enemies of the Pakistan and other countries. And those against those all difficulties, we took a stand. We will develop a program for nuclear program, and we developed. Even 2 or 3 times, Israel threatened to attack Pakistan, but they could not dare to attack because we have a strong military and the air force, and everybody know Pakistan Air Force can tackle any future challenge and the current challenge. But They brought their planes to the region in their friendly countries to attack Pakistan nuclear program. Against these odds, Pakistan stood, you can say, stood firmly on its stance, and we deliver. This gave us a hope. Pakistan will continue to go for the nuclear energy for the green transition in the Pakistan. But for that purpose, we also have to build a voice among the civil society, among the civil society players and in the society, because most of the civil society in the South is funded by the Western donors, and the Western donors don't like, the nuclear energy. As Hassan was rightly talking about, they love to lecture whatever but about the negativity of future technologies. Because as the President Donald Trump once said during his first period, so that USA cannot allow any country to surpass USA in the future technologies. That's why they were opposing China. So we need to be united in all aspects where we are and build a campaign for it, because there is no campaign. You can see around yourself. I think in the Pakistan, this is the first ever public debate where we have engaged on the nuclear energy for the green transition. That's why to the speakers, I will request in the future, I will keep bothering you people, because we have to build a positive image where we can benefit and we can bring some benefit to the humanity and working together. Thank you all, and see you in our next session, inshallah, soon. Allah Hafiz. Bye bye. Good night.
Thank you very much for inviting us.
And Yasin, to have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.